All right, howdy folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. In this video, what we're going to do is kick off a case study here on this amazing copy of the Amazing Spider-Man 129. As you can see, this copy is currently graded a CBCS 6.0 copy. You'll also notice that little check mark there, and when CBCS puts that little bit of a check mark there, what they're trying to tell you is that this comic looks better than the grade might indicate, and so you're kind of instructed to look pretty close at it by that little check mark. It also means that if you clear up some of the things affecting that check mark, you'll have a pretty good shot at a good Bumpski. One of the things I'll notice right away is that there is some residue right by that staple, and that made me look at the staple, and you can see that that staple does have a little bit of rust and a little bit of tarnish on it, as does the one down here. And so that's kind of an indication of what's going on. Things like this 1029 ballpoint pen, that is not going to come out. We're not going to be able to do diddly squat to that, particularly because it's on a yellow, but generally pen like that, and that looks like a date stamp somebody used. But when looking at this, you know, if we flip it on over, we can see that there is some light foxing up here, so that should be able to go away. We've got a little bit of edge wear here, and this particular bump or bubble does not look like it was pressed. And again, we can see a little bit of dirt along the back spine here. This is rust from a staple, presumably a preceding issue or post-seating staple, so we're not going to be able to clear that up. And there's a little bit of foxing here. Now, if you look at it, all of this blue all the way around here is distributor overspray, and that's actually also what's on the front cover here. So, you know, I think CGC generally does not count distributor overspray against the grade on comics kind of pre-1980, but you can see that there's a good amount of it, you know, on the edge here. And, you know, if we're really lucky, we might be able to lighten some of that on up, but generally it is going to be permanent. Now, looking at this comic book, you know, looking on the corners, I don't see any major creases. Again, there's a little bit of a dimple here. If you look kind of right down the side, you might be able to see that definitely something is squished in there, so we might need to do some tacking iron work in here to try to flatten out whatever that was. But looking at it overall, this comic looks pretty nice. The spine in general looks really great. I don't see any major creasing whatsoever. You know, there might be a very little bit right in the middle, kind of on the Spider-Man, but I don't think that might be okay. And, you know, this one looks really nice. Other than the distributor overspray, the rust from the rusty staples, and this foxing. And I think we're going to be able to touch up the foxing quite nicely. And so hopefully we'll be able to give this comic a little bit of a facelift. I don't know how high it will go, but I'm thinking that this one's a pretty good candidate for a Bumpski. So let's go ahead and get it started here. As I've said many times before, I find the CBCS slabs to be significantly harder to crack than the CGC ones. But we're going to start down on the edge here with our flathead screwdriver and hopefully just bust right through those side pistons or side posts. Yeah, my flathead is a little too flat and narrow of a head. It's actually biting into the plastic instead of twisting up on it. So, but we got this one, so let's just start on over here and see what we can do. Splintering is not usually what I like to see. Do not like that. That's the part of the reason I don't like the CBCS slabs. Alright, this is going to be not my favorite thing to do because we're going to have to go into the glue down here. Separated all the way. I do really like the CBCS slabs, but unfortunately they are monsters to crack. There we go. That's what I was hoping for. Good. Let's see if we we can gently pull this comic out now that we've made a complete and utter disaster of the case. Well, there we go. Comic is thankfully unscathed. Got a pretty nice border right up top here, so we're going to go ahead and cut through the top part. Give that a gentle tap down. Slide all that out of the way. Go. All right, use my scissors here. See how we did? So we definitely have that spot kind of identified there. You can see it all the way through the comic now that the slab's not in the way. So something that definitely is going to need to get ironed there. There's a little bit of just general rough feeling, I would say, on this cover. So definitely I think has been moisture exposed. But if we open it on up, the pages are actually quite beautiful. A little bit of that distributor spray. You can see all the way across the side of the comic, kind of there on the bottom. And let's just see if we see anything on the... Nope, just smells hardcore like basement. So it's definitely got a little bit of an odor, but very nice comic indeed. So this one, oh, there's our Marvel value stamp. So make sure you don't miss those in there. But yep, this one I think is going to be a good candidate. So let's get a good set of pictures here underneath the light, and then we'll come on back and do some dry cleaning, and then get this guy ready for the light box. All right, time to get dry cleaning this amazing copy of The Amazing Spider-Man number 129. A lot of people really love this issue. It's a grail comic to a lot of individuals. Personally, the Punisher character is not one I relate to that much, but I get it. And it does actually look like that overspray cleaned up a little bit with the eraser there, so we might be lucky to be able to get a little bit of lightning on that overspray. Yeah, you can see a little bit of a blue tinge to the eraser bits there. We're still not going to be able to touch the yellow, so that's going to be permanent. Or at least I'm not going to be the person to risk taking all that yellow off. I'm actually going to intentionally hit the staple here. I don't want to polish it and make it look shiny, but if I can take some of the tarnish off, that would be a win. Again, it's going to be staple rust, but you can get a 9.4 with very small amounts of staple rust or tarnish. So I'm going to try to max that out. Make it look a little bit better. I don't see anything in here that needs to be cleaned. I don't see anything up over here that needs to be cleaned. So all in all, this one's looking pretty good. Let's see if I can get a little bit more of that overspray that was kind of blasting this comic. Really rough issue to get that much overspray on. Let's just see how we can do here on the back. Yeah, it'll lighten up. Look at that. Look at that. I'll help out quite a bit. Sometimes it budges, sometimes it don't. This stuff looks like it's coming off reasonably well. Look at that. Wish I could predict ahead of time which ones would come off and which ones won't, but I've been unable to do that. Don't want to be too aggressive here with the eraser sheet, but let's just see if we can get definitely coming off on the eraser sheet. I actually want to leave a little bit of it there so that CGC knows it's overspray and not some other kind of stain. Overspray is generally forgiven, whereas staining would not be. So I don't want to clean it all off. We can lighten it up quite a bit, it looks like. All right. Off to the rest of the comic. This book should hopefully get a nice bump. Although they do love to grade this book pretty harsh. Not as harsh as Marble Spotlight number 5, but pretty harsh in general. I always feel bad when clients bring me Marble Spotlight number 5 hoping it'll be a super high grade. That book just never gets a high grade. Just love to slam that one. Matt Nelson must not be a Ghost Rider fan. What this is right here, it's just ink. It's not supposed to be there, but it's alright. I think that's about as good as we're going to be able to get this overspray without going drastic, which I do not want to do because it should not move the grade, and I think we've already improved the eye appeal quite a bit with it. Just lightening it up. I think that's really nice. Okay, that's going to be about it for the dry clean. We'll go ahead and get eraser bits off of here. Shake my Swiffer sheet off camera. Trickle both directions. This thing has pretty modest foxing, so foxing is probably going to be a 4 treatment exterior, 2 to 3 treatment interior, blue LED overlay. So I think I'm looking at over a dozen, somewhere between a dozen and 14 overall treatments on this beast. And then we'll see what it looks like when it comes back. I think this is a little dab of overspray up there. Really wanted that area to look good. It looks better, but oh well, it's going to be as good as it's going to get for now. So we'll check back in when this thing comes out of the bled box. All right, here we are, fresh out of the light box with this copy of The Amazing Spider-Man number 129. What you can see here is that it does have that kind of standard wrinkly look to it, you know, in the glare, you know, especially right there between Spider-Man and the Punisher. You can kind of see that. That's pretty standard coming out of the light box, but the other thing you'll notice is that the yellow on this thing pops now like a champ. It looks fantastic here on the front. If we flip it on over, you can see it also looks really nice on the back. So this one, before we give it a press, we're going to try to iron out this little bit right there. I'm probably going to do that off camera because it's going to be boring, and I'm just going to gently dab each page and then hit it with the tacking iron to try to flatten it out. So nothing too exciting there. If you want other examples of tacking iron work, see some of the other videos. But yeah, I mean, this thing looks really sharp, I think, from arm's length. You know, the overspray looks a little bit mitigated. It's not quite as boom in your face, and overall, it's a very nice looking comic. So we'll be excited to see this one after a little bit of iron work and then the press. All right, here we are, folks. This is going to be our final look at this amazing copy of The Amazing Spider-Man number 129, the first appearance of the Punisher. This thing came out of the press looking great, and a quick detailed look at it compared to the before shots. So we got most of the foxing, so I'm very excited about that. The overspray looks a little bit better, and so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this one is going to be set for a solid Bumpski. Till then, what will appear to you to be only mere seconds will to me actually be days or weeks while this thing gets sent off for regrade. Sit tight. Please go ahead and click that subscribe or thumbs up button here while you're dying in anticipation. And as always, I'm going to tuck this one front to back here in a double-backed Mylar for these really nice, really high-grade, really key books. And so we're going to go ahead and roll that on over here with our blue painter tape. And sit tight while I send this one on off. All right, true believers, the jury is back with a verdict. This copy of The Amazing Spider-Man number 129 is back from CGC and safely with its owner. And so it's time for us to reveal the grade. Now, this was a previous CBCS 6.0 copy, and after some Top Comics love, this thing bumped up to a 9.0. It also got an increase from off-white pages to white pages. Sorry, off-white white pages to white pages. So that is a pretty good Bumpski there. And we can go ahead and count that off. So that would be 6 to 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9.0. So that is a 6 grade increase. That is a full 1/3 of the CGC scale, give or take a little bit, and you can 100% tell it's the same comic because it has this very distinctive writing of a date right there, right above the word The Punisher. And so if you go back and look at the video, that is the prior book, very distinctively. So this one I think turned out quite all right. The owner was quite pleased with it. So, and if you enjoyed getting some value out of watching the step-by-step on how to take this 6.0 book and bump it to that 9.0 book, what I will kindly ask you to do is click that subscribe button right down below. If you haven't, leave a thumbs up on the video here, and please drop a comment in that section there to let me know what you think about it. I will put one little caveat here, which is not every 6.0 book can bump to a 9.0. It does take the right book with the right defects and a little bit of good luck. And so, you know, don't expect that every time. Some 6.0 books might get all the same treatment and end right back up at a 6.0 because of a crease or two or of some other issue. And so don't expect this every time, but if you get a really good eye for it, you can figure out what kinds of things do lead to a solid Bumpski. All right, so check this one out. Leave me a thumbs up. Check out the other content in the channel. Share with a friend. And most importantly, carry on collecting.